All right, here we go. What is going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of the Reyes Reflection Podcast. Free to subscribe, as always, on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Also, don't forget to show me some love on the socials, following me at I'm Nathanael Reyes. That's on TikTok and Instagram. Now, my next guest is a fascinating individual with an incredible story. He's up early, as am I. I'm admittingly, it's a little later for me, but he's here. He's a band member, a vocal coach, a singer-songwriter, an inspiration, and a contestant of season 23 of The Voice. So without further ado, please welcome EJ Michels. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Heck yeah.
I appreciate you doing this again. I know we talked off camera that it's a little early for you. You're a vocal coach, so you're cramming this in, and I really thoroughly appreciate it. So thank you
I
so
guess
much.
9 a.m. for musicians is kind of early, but at the same time, I can make it
Yeah,
happen.
you said we're all for it. We're all for it. So I want to before we get into The Voice and everything like that, I want to learn a little bit more about you. So you grew up in Draper, Utah. Is that correct? Trapper,
Yes.
Draper.
Yeah. Draper, Utah. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Talk to me a little bit about that. Are you still currently out there? How's life out there when you were growing up? Things like that.
Yeah, I still live in Draper. I never thought I would end up buying a townhome here and living here. I bought a townhome kind of on the outskirts of the city, so it kind of feels like a different vibe from what I grew up in.
Yep.
But it's close to my dad's, like 5 minutes away. My family's all within at least like a 30-minute radius from me. But growing up in Draper was amazing. You have the beautiful mountains surrounded by you in Utah. It's a pretty kind community. And I had lived, I think, for about 2 years in Ukraine on this like church mission I went on. And coming back to Draper, I'm like, everyone is way too nice. Like everyone in Ukraine was a little kind of like honest and just like, oh, wipe that look off your face, or like, this is
Really?
my fat wife. Like they're very like blunt. But coming back to Draper, everyone is just really nice, and it's very like, now I'm in a place in my life where being my authentic self, I feel like, I always felt like, oh, I have to kind of go to LA or go somewhere else to be myself. But that's not the case. People are actually just really respectful and loving. And I have a lot of students from the area in Draper, of all religions and all beliefs, and everyone has just been really respectful and whatnot. So I just love it here. It just feels like home. I don't know if I want to leave to go to LA to pursue music, because I'm booking so many gigs here, and I feel like the internet, people can find me from anywhere type of thing. So and then if the more demand happens, I can start playing shows outside of Utah. I think I have one in Nevada this month, but I've played so many shows, but I would rather be almost leaving for tour and leaving, to go explore and play shows and whatnot. That just sounds so much more fun than actually like living outside of Utah.
Exactly. So your experience outside of Utah is a little bit more rough. People were a little bit more rough around the edges, and so you are more acclimated to the eh,
Yeah.
to that feel. It's funny you say that because I'm a New Englander, okay, and I feel like people here are rough around the edges. I feel
Yeah, it probably right. I,
yeah.
I think that'd be a little bit more rough, and
Yeah, and what's funny is that's not my personality. I'm a little bit more of calmer and being a little bit more patient with one, and I mean that's my background also working with kids, so I just feel like that's more my personality. Whereas here, it's like you said, like people are like, "Why are you smiling?" And it's like people are upset if you're smiling,
yeah, they're like, "Why you're such a creep? Like, what do you
yeah,
want? Like, do you have a crush on me? Like,
right. And it's like
it's kind of, what do you want?"
I love smiling. I won best smile in high school for a reason. I want to keep it that way. So
Wow,
no,
isn't that funny? They do that in high school, like best smile. I won the award for like most likely to be famous.
oh, look at that.
So I
Hey,
had this pressure of like, I have to do something big with my life. If I don't, I'm going to let this award down. type of thing.
I mean, but my friend, I would say you're up there. I would say you're making your way up there, and I like your strategy as well. I like your strategy of, hey, I just want to stay at home and where I feel at home, and then and we'll get into about you feeling more about who you are as an individual. But I also like that you are able to compartmentalize and say, if I want to go visit those places, I can always tour. And there is that, and you get to experience it where you don't have to uproot your life and go live in those places. So I think strategically that's a really good move for you. Obviously, it doesn't work for everyone, but for you, it sounds like that's something that really works for you. And you make a very great point with the internet and with everything like that. Like, even myself, being a New Englander, I've always been told, hey, you've been doing podcasting for about a year. Why don't you try to go into those big markets? And it really is one of those things where it's like, well, everyone and their mom is doing it. If in those big markets, if I can do it
Yeah,
on the internet and a clip hits, you're doing the right thing. And I think that
yeah.
that's your mentality as well of just staying there. And if you don't Utah, how far is Utah from like California, LA? It's like a 6 hour drive or something like that, 10 hour drive, something like that.
Yeah, it depends on where you're going. It's about
Okay.
like it's if you're going from like Draper to San Francisco or to LA, it's like a 9 hour ish drive. You could go a little bit faster if you're speeding a bit, but about like a 9 hour drive. I've driven it so many times with my band,
Yeah.
with by myself, with my boyfriend, like just on vacation, just to go have fun. But it's close. It's super close. So as far as like touring goes in Utah, you have all these really cool like Western markets, like
Yeah.
from going to Colorado, going to Nevada and Arizona and California, and like up in Seattle. Like it's a very cool market to kind of be in the middle of it all, and you can kind of hit all these different places outside of Utah. So
Yeah,
I love.
geographically, it's a great spot. I mean, like you said, you get 4 seasons, and on top of that, you have you're a drive, and if you really want to splurge, you're a quick plane ride away from a lot of those places. So I think that
Yeah.
that's a very valid point on your, and I'm glad that you were able to do that. So you mentioned your band. You started writing songs with your brother. Is that right?
Yeah, that's when I started writing. I think very first was with my older brother Steve. He plays drums with me in my solo set and plays drums in our band. Back in high school, I think 10th grade was like the first song I wrote with him, and then he left um, for 2 years. And during that time, I started writing by myself. And he came back and he's like, "Holy crap, dude! Like you got good. Like while I was gone." He's because he was always the one singing and drumming and whatnot, and and he's like, wow. And then we kind of started a duo, and it just kind of built from there.
Nice, nice. Yeah, so your band was called Foreign Figures. Are you still actively playing in that band, or is it just, or you've kind of? Oh, you are. Okay, nice.
Yes, I'm still actively playing in the band. I'm pursuing my solo career and a career with Foreign Figures. We have, I think, a show the end of May and another one at a film festival in June. I'm currently the first song I'll release after the voice is over. Um, I will probably release a song with my band. It's
That's
kind of like Foreign
exciting.
Figures, comma EJ Michaels, one that I actually started writing out when I was doing all the voice stuff, about kind of stepping into this big moment of my life, and we're calling it Golden Age. So it's going to be coming out. Yeah, it's going to be coming out after the voice is over, and then I'll start releasing my album again.
No, look at that. I love when I get to hear breaking news on the show that you're dropping some good music out. Golden Age, that's what it's called. I look forward to that. About your band, you got to open up for ex ambassadors, right? That's right? Talk to me about that
Yeah,
experience.
we actually opened for them twice.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, we opened for them in 2015 when that was kind of like the breakout time at
Yep.
the UCCU Center, and it was halfway full. They kind of did a divider. And this is a time when we kind of had a more anthemic, like positive pop rock Coldplay sound at the time,
Yep.
and it was, I think, the biggest stage we had ever been on at that moment, but it just felt so exciting. And I remember the night before I couldn't sleep because I was so excited. And then the second time, this is when we had already released our kind of like darker alt pop music, and our streaming numbers started going up, and we performed up in Utah State at another like big arena they have up there, and this is, I think, 2018 or 2019 we got to open for them again. And it's so great being compared to Ex-Ambassadors, and watching their live show is unreal. That lead singer can sing, he can perform, he can play instruments like nobody's business, and their songs are so catchy. And so that's kind of what my band tries to emulate, is just a good, energetic, passionate performance with these really well written songs, and just showing our talents and our strengths to the best of our ability. And we never got to meet him. I literally, the second time, I went into the green room and literally said hi, and their manager immediately pulled me out, and I was so sad. But
No.
at least I got to like say hi and be like, "You guys are so dope." But that was about it.
No way. Oh man, that's a bummer. So you opened for them, but you weren't able to like sit and converse. That's a bummer. That's a bummer. But
It's a bummer. Yeah, and I get it. Like with bands that perform, you're performing so many times. It's kind of like protecting your privacy and protecting your, kind of humanity in a sense, because people just like, everyone wants to meet you. So I get it. But I know for myself, if I'm like playing a show, I want to know who the opener is, and at least just have like a quick chat with them. Like,
right.
it's like, or if I'm opening for another big band, I love meeting people. So
I'm the same. I feel like I'd be the same way. I'm not talented musically, but I feel like I'd be the same way if I like ever opened for someone, or if someone ever opened for me in whatever fashion. I would definitely like to just meet them on a different level of just kind of being like, hey, I was there at one point, or whatever the case may be. So maybe I understand both sides to it, right? Like,
yeah.
and I think that that's the difference of maturing, because I think a younger me would be like, "What? You hate me? I'm opening for you. What?" Like, and and I think as you get older, you're like, "Okay, I understand it. I do understand it." So in your day to day, you are a vocal coach, right?
Mhm.
So you have students, you have a lot of clients. How did you get into that? And first of all, I think that that's awesome, because I think that that helps tie in your love for music, and you're also teaching it. How did you get into that, and how was it something of like, this is what I'm going to do as my profession?
I didn't think I'd get into teaching, because I always wanted to just pursue my artist career. But in 2014, around the first time our band started, a friend of a friend was like, "Could your lead singer like teach me how to sing?" And I had been taking lessons professionally for like years at that point, but I had never taught a lesson. And she just asked, and I'm like, "Okay." And I just pretty much sat down at the piano, and I guess what I was in my head, I was like, I guess I'll kind of do what my vocal coach did a little bit and try to formulate that. And I had no idea what I was doing. And it kind of snowballed from there. And then another buddy of mine saw that I was teaching her, and he's like, he's a great singer. He's like, "Can you give me lessons?" And then I think about a couple of years after that, I taught at a studio here locally in Draper called the Piano Place, and I had like maybe 8 to 10 to 12 students tops. But then I think they let me go from there because I was touring a lot and my schedule was just very inconsistent. And they're like, "We need teachers that are like here on a weekly basis, like very consistent, and you're just all over the place with your
Yeah.
career." So in 2019, I stopped and literally was just doing my band full time. But then 2020 hit, and it was like all my gigs were canceled with my band. The whole dynamic with my band was completely changed, from me being like the front man to everyone now pursuing their solo projects. And then at that point, it was kind of a huge change for me, because I'm like, I also moved into my townhome, and I'm like, I need to have a mortgage now. I need to make payments. And obviously, I've already been teaching. So I think from that time forward, I took on more clients and students from that point and started posting about it. I haven't posted about, "Hey, I need students." It literally just, I think I posted a couple times, and then I went from like 5. Well, I had one at that moment when I needed to start teaching again. I went from 1 to 15 in a month.
Oh,
And then
wow. That's impressive.
now I cap it at like 40 to 45 because I only want to teach 3 days a week, Tuesday through Thursday. That leaves Mondays and Fridays and Wednesday during the day open for just creativity and spontaneity. It's important for me to have energy to still write songs and be marketing myself and making TikToks and videos and like um but then at that point I needed a sense of credibility because not just like, oh, this dude can sing and he has taught voice, but I want to know what I'm doing. So my vocal coach up in Salt Lake has a teachers association called Ivy Tom, International Voice Teachers of Mix, which is this organization that teaches members and singers and singing teachers how to be better coaches. And it's all around the world. They have people in Poland, in Europe and here in the US,
Oh,
and they
wow.
teach mixed singing technique. So it took me about 2 years to get accredited through them after having lessons evaluated and taking this huge long essay and kind of a test, uh, an oral test as well, of like listening to different singers and being like, what would you change? And what would you do differently and what's wrong and
Hmm.
what's going wrong type of thing. And I passed it and I have it hanging on my wall, and it really taught me how to be a better coach and know like the physiology of the voice and how the voice works and know like more of the science, and but then most importantly like how to be a great voice coach all
Wow.
overall. So that kind of takes up about part-time for me. So it's not like a full-time endeavor. During the week it's like a part-time endeavor, but it's great because I get to see so many awesome singers and get
Yeah.
to do my passion and help others and make a good living for it. And
And provide you
it's
with flexibility at the same time. Yep.
yeah, like if I need to stop and be like, oh, I need to go do the voice, like, or I need to go and do this, I can, stop lessons for a bit and resume it when I'm back in town. And so it does give me that flexibility of being able to, if I want to go tour, I can. Or if I want to go and stop and do different things, I can.
That's awesome. So it was a pretty extensive like procedure to kind of even get into that point, but it that's I mean that's really impressive. As a person who's very bad at singing, I'll admit it. I love to sing, I'm bad at it. Although, when I'm in my car or when I'm singing in the shower, I feel like I sound like, the next best person. What kind of advice could you give to me to help me be a better singer? What's kind of what are some tips and tricks that you could relay?
I'll say this: good singing is an absolute refusal of trying to help the pitch in any way. A lot of singers think that in order to sing well, you have to, in a sense, help the pitch. And to sing high notes, it's almost like a sense of control. I look at singing as a sense of surrender and not the opposite of control.
Oh,
And so that will really help as far as singing high notes, you not squeezing and straining and everything kind of tightening up. And that's what makes singing high notes really difficult for people, is they think of it as this really weighty, big, heavy thing you have to force out,
yeah.
where it's kind of the opposite. It's more of the feeling as you sing higher gets smaller
See,
and
that's
the vocal
impressive.
cords thin out and stretch, as opposed to, they still have resistance on them,
Yep.
because if you don't have resistance then it would just be a super light, heady, airy tone. um, but yeah, I would say as far as like, the psychology behind singing is the feeling, and the sensation gets smaller when you go higher, where a lot of people think it gets bigger and heavier and like
Yeah.
type of a thing, where it's like but that's not the case.
That's impressive. Even just, it really is a science hearing you discuss it, because it's like, wow, that's so impressive to think about it down to like the last minute detail. So that's really awesome. Well, thank you for that tidbit of information. Um, I want to transition into this. Okay, so the social media picture where it shows the glacier in water, and it shows like a small tip of the iceberg, and then it shows like the big glacier. Have you ever seen that? So
Oh yeah.
the reason why I bring that up is because you're a perfect example of who that person is. Because why I say that is because on the show you mentioned how when your band was really hot, you were having a lot of good success. You were struggling internally though. So it's kind of hard because you're having this outward trajectory, but you're having this inward struggle. Where did this inward kind of where this dichotomy kind of built up inside of you? Where did that come from?
I really just felt like I was kind of living a lie. And, as far as growing up in Draper and just being taught how to live your life, going to church as a kid, you kind of have like this plan set for you of like, this is what your life's supposed to look like. And this is how it's supposed to go. And this is the outcome. And this is the beginning. And this is the middle. And, I followed that plan. And during like with music, it's interesting because I feel like music is all about authenticity.
Yeah.
And if it's not authentic, people smell it and they know you're faking, type of a thing. So I feel like music honestly led me down this path of kind of finding and opening up and expressing eventually to the point where I'm just like uncovering, excuse my French, but all the bullshit that I'm hiding from and all the stuff that I'm, um, I guess, just kind of keeping at bay in order to make other people happy, in order to fit in and whatnot. But I feel like during that time, I was eventually getting closer to coming out. I was like telling more and more people. My band was, I think, one of the second people I told at the time. And I was so afraid. I was like, don't tell anyone. Don't even like tell your wives. Like, keep this a secret.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, they were all like, what? Like, I had no idea you were like, I could tell you're struggling with something, but I had no idea it was something. I think it was my brother. He's just like, you hear those stories of like people with siblings that come out. He's like, I never knew I would be one of those like siblings type of a thing.
Yep.
But it was hard. I didn't always want to be in this like depressed place where a lot of artists think in order to write good music, you have to be like constantly miserable and sad
Right.
and
Right.
depressed.
Because a lot of inspiration does come from those emotions. It does, but you don't always have to be in that
Yeah,
hole.
like it's kind of like a toxic. It can be a toxic cycle of like, oh, you
Right.
can only be creative. You can only write great music if you're miserable, which is not true. I feel like I've recently been writing some of my best songs ever that I'll be releasing after my album comes out, being in a better place. Um, but yeah, so that was just really, those were some of my most anxious, just stressed, really just depressing times. Even though I was really, I feel like I probably put so much into my band and music,
Yep.
maybe honestly for a lack of self-love and a lack of a sense of like worthiness and a sense of who I am, and almost in a sense throwing myself into just success being such a huge part of my life. But now I can kind of chase success from a more healthy place and not putting my entire worth into it. If that makes sense.
That's beautifully said. Beautifully said. And honestly, I can relate in the sense of one. I have a family member who also a brother who also came out, and we grew up in a very structured religious home as well, and I think it was
Mm-hmm.
very taxing on him. And I think there's some, it's obviously his story, and there's some taxing times in the sense of there's still some family members who don't accept it, and that's the risk that you have to you
Yeah,
take. I was fortunate that he was comfortable enough that I was one of the first people that he came out to,
it's awesome.
and I just always have accepted it. He's one of my best friends to this day, and what's interesting is growing up in the household and the environment that we did, being just super structured, super religious. a lot of the church members at the time would say, you got to disown that. You can't kind of you can't really talk to him, and he's kind of got to be like, and I'm like, whoa, I can't turn my back on my brother. I can't. Like, the whole world is going to go ahead and look at him differently now. I can't be one of the people that looks at him differently. I just cannot. So I
You seem like a loving
definitely
guy. You seem like you wouldn't do
never,
that.
never, no. And what's crazy is just, sometimes when you grow up in different environments, your mindset is just like, because like you said earlier, how you grow up with this kind of like almost book writing of like, oh, I have to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, because you're trying to follow what is being presented to you.
Yeah.
And it's not until you can finally just, for lack of a better terms, break out of those shackles and be who you truly are, that you almost feel like free, and you feel like and for you, I'm happy that you genuinely happy that you feel the happiest that you've ever felt, because my brother said the same thing. And I know during high school and even early college, my brother struggled so much with like his depression and anxiety. So I can't imagine young kids who are battling that as well, when they know at such a young age, or even just adults at any point in life, when you're struggling with who you truly are. I feel like once you find out who you truly are and you come out, whether that be, your sexual orientation, or even just who you are in general, of what you want to be in
Like,
life.
what you want to, yeah, it's like
Exa-
what you want to pursue,
exactly.
or the type of person that you want to be, like however you want to, your lifestyle is like.
Exactly. And I'm such a individual of like, to me, I just love. To me, I'm happy with whoever loves who. If you love each other, great. That's amazing. And so I always say to my friends, I'm like, what breaks my heart is I hope we get to a point in life where two people can walk down the street and nobody even cares. Nobody like, hey, I want to hear about your coming out story. Like, nobody asks. When I was in high school and I first started dating a girl, holding her hand in the hallway, nobody said one word. Nobody batted
Yeah,
an eye.
if no one bats an eye, it's a normal part of society, and
Yep.
totally get it. Where it's like people aren't like looking like that looks weird or like that's different. It's like you'll see two guys or two girls or a guy and a girl or like two trans or like a trans, and
Yep.
like it's whatever. It's just kind of like you don't bat an eye. You're like, oh, those are two humans
That are in
who
love.
love that are in love and they're living their lives. But like
Boom.
back in the day when it's just taught with all this, like it's so wrong and evil. I remember seeing my first gay couple when I was little, like at the mall holding hands. I felt like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like you feel like this sense of, you almost feel kind of fear because like and even like the way your parents talk about it, like kids, look at that. Oh my gosh. Like
Yeah.
it's so weird type of a thing. And like you just are kind of preconditioned to treat it a certain way. So I feel like society is with media and like Hollywood and videos and movies and music just becoming more and more normalized. It's taking the shame out of it and
Yeah.
normalizing it. And it's, yeah, how would love hurt anyone and hurt the family and destroy the family? Like there's enough of so many people that's just like we just want people to be happy and alive and not killing themselves.
I love it, and I'm so proud of you and your strength, because, and like I said, and now my brother's the happiest he's ever been, and I'm gonna have a great brother-in-law. They're engaged, so I'm super.
Oh, that's
It's just
awesome.
it truly is an amazing thing, and like you said, I hope we get to a point where we just realize love is love, and we can just be happy that people are in love. So
Yes.
that is my message on love, and just, and I appreciate that we were able to share this moment. So thank you so much, EJ, for just
Of
being vulnerable
course.
and sharing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Thanks for spreading such positivity and like making me feel so comfortable and safe to talk about my story. And yeah, you're doing amazing things, my man. You're going to keep doing more by spreading this message. So I appreciate it.
Love it, love it. I want to transition into the voice now. When did
Cool.
that become a reality for you? When was that something of like, hey, I'm gonna, you know, thoroughly pursue this opportunity?
So I had auditioned in like 2014 in person in Salt Lake, and that was before I even had the experience with my band. producers saw I sang 2 songs. They're like, no. And I'm like, oh, sad. And I just went on with my life. I did the band and got all this experience performing and singing and recording and finding myself as a singer. And then 2020, I auditioned online in 2020, 2021. That's when kind of I had more freedom to pursue it again because of the way things happened within my band and like just performances shutting down and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, so I think at that time, 2020 and 21, I didn't really try hard in the auditions. It was kind of
Really?
like I threw a song together last minute and was like, let's just sing and see what happens. But like this, for this season, it was in, yeah, I told myself, I'm like, I'm going to really show what I can do and take a song that really shows my range, my style, what I feel makes me unique. I'm going to set up the lighting so they can see me well lit. I'm
Yeah.
going to play the piano. So I took, I think, a Sam Smith song, Lay Me Down, and I cut up the first verse, pre chorus, and chorus so I could get to the chorus quicker. And like, I tried and I put some effort into it and I was like, I'm going to do this. And I don't know if I thought, I'm like, it kind of felt like a one more thing, like a one more time deal.
Mhm.
Like, I'm just going to go for it one more time. That's literally what I thought when I went into it. And then got the call back and sent more auditions and it just kept spiraling. And I was like, what is going on? Like, since high school, when I saw David Archuleta American Idol, I always wanted to be on a singing competition show. It was just always a dream because I'm obsessed with singing and I love it. And it's my entire life. And I was like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, it's like things were unfolding. And then I went out and did the blind audition and I got chairs to turn, not just a chair, chairs, and then moving on to the battle round. And like, it just like, it's a huge dream come true. And it's been so fun to meet so many like incredible, talented singers and make so many new friends. And yeah, like, and have all the experience and learn how to sing even better
Yep.
than I ever have before and get all this like exclusive like free access to these huge celebrities and they like follow you online and know your name and like not that but they even like get to hear your story and they get to hear
Yeah.
you sing. Like, it's just incredible, man. And it's been a lifelong dream to do something of this caliber.
Yep.
And it's just cool that it's actually happening and it'll bring more people who will know about me that didn't know about me into all these new music releases that I have coming up that I've been working on for years. So
Yeah, more exposure for you. Before we dive into that, you mentioned David Archuleta. Wow, I remember that Crush, right? That is
Rush, yeah,
what a
yeah, Jared Archuleta, like, man, he was in
what a
Utah,
throwback. Yeah,
the celebrity of Utah, just like the fact that he got to this worldwide fame
yep.
and crushed it. I think he took second. I think he was like runner up.
Yeah, I think he was. I don't think he won, but I think he finished pretty high up there. Yeah.
Yes, and then like he came out with Crush, and that became like a huge radio hit.
What a
And
throwback.
I know, right? Such a throwback.
But it was a
And
good song. I like that song. I mean, that was a great song. That was like one that I remember I would sing I would like, back when like YouTube was first coming out. And I would say, like, whenever you have a crush on someone, I'd be like, here, like, what do you think of this song? I would like subtly put that in and it would literally, and it's because that's what I'm thinking.
yeah,
So
my
cheesy, but so
dude, yeah.
awesome.
It's so, and I get full circle moment.
Yeah.
I played a show a few weeks ago at the Utah Jazz. I did the halftime performance
Oh, no way.
in their arena, like 20,000 people, and David sang the national anthem, and I got to meet him and
Wow.
took a picture with him, and like had this full circle. I was just like, who knew that like I would go ending up like loving this, and he just inspired me to get into singing. And then I get to meet him all, I mean, like 10 years, 15 years later, but How cool is that? Like,
Yeah, that is a really, full circle moment. Wow, that is amazing, dude. Like that you were able to
right?
like that he like inspired you to like be in this music competition show. Then you're in this show and then you get to perform at the same event that he's at. That's just
Yeah.
wow. That is you couldn't write a better storybook ending. That is really cool. I'm glad that you got to
Yeah.
experience that. That's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. It's just cool to kind of see things. I've in music, you experience a lot of rejection. You
Yeah.
experience a lot of hard times and moments of like questioning and like, why am I doing this? Like, I'm making like little to no money. I no one cares type of a thing. But then to kind of have these moments of working out and your dreams kind of making sense, you're like, I'm glad I kept doing it.
It makes it
I'm
worth it.
glad that I didn't give up. And it's been years, but I'm like, music's just one of those things where it's just a part of me. And I don't think, regardless of what happens in the future, I'll always be doing it because it's just who I am. It's therapy. It's how I deal with my life and how I express myself. And so it's that being like a natural thing. I don't think I'd ever stop.
And please don't. I love it. So we'll talk about your blind audition day. From what I've heard from people, you have to wake up pretty early. So what was going through your head? You're waking up a lot earlier than you normally do. You probably have a lot of jitters. What's running through EJ's head at that time?
I had 3 hours of sleep the night before. So I was waking up, I think I went to bed at 9, but I laid awake till maybe 12:30 a.m. and then maybe fell asleep till like 2:30.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up around like 2:30 a.m. just thinking about the lyrics going over in my head over and over again. And I think I laid there for just like 2 hours, kind of like awake, half asleep. And then I think it was like 4, and I just decided, or 4:30, I just decided to get up, and I did a full on like insanity workout for my laptop, like
Nice.
an hour workout, and then warmed up my voice and like took off and was honestly really excited. But like the more the day went on, I was exhausted.
Yeah,
Like
I
my
bet.
body, I remember like being behind stage right before I was about to go on, talking to I think some of the show producers, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm so excited," but like dead inside, like hands clammy and just like feeling like a skeleton. And the makeup lady was like, "Your eyes are red. We need to like put some stuff in them so they're not red." And like I look back at the audition and it looked great, but me knowing myself, I'm like I could tell I was a little exhausted.
I was gonna say
But
you know yourself, so you could tell. Hey, that I was off there. I was off there.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
like I think going into it, I was so nervous and I, didn't know what to expect. And it's like all leading up to this one moment, of it all coming together. So I think I psyched myself out way too
Yeah.
much, honestly. But right before I went on stage, I'm like, I'm here. I came all this way. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I'm going to be confident. Literally in my head, I remember walking on stage, like, I'm going to be confident. Let's do this thing. And just did my very best that I could at that time. And I feel like there was a lot of emotion
Yeah.
in me and pent up, like all this realization happening at once type of a thing.
Yeah. And you did great. You sang the song "Go Easy on Me" by Adele.
Yeah.
A very hard song. One, Adele's a very hard person to try to emulate in any way. Why did you choose that song?
Yeah, so no, I chose that song because I'm a huge fan of Adele. I love her. She's literally on my wall. What her vinyl 21 is on my wall. And I love singing soul music, like piano based blue eyed soul. Like I just love any type of song and bringing soul into it. Even though I don't consider myself like an R&B artist, I feel like I'm more of like kind of a soulful singer songwriter that does pop music.
Mhm.
Um, but that song, I feel like just brings out my higher range, my piano skills, um, my head register, but also even my stronger mix register. And I just love Adele, and I love this song. So and I played through it and I was like, yeah, I got to put this on here because it really shows moments, and you kind of want to pick songs on The Voice that have more dynamic and have more big moments of like, like getting them to turn rather than a song that's just kind of like this all the way around type of a thing. And
Right.
I just and I remember when I found out what song I was singing, I literally teared up because the song means so much to me. So if you literally would have told me, EJ, you will be singing the biggest hit out right now from Adele a year later on the Voice stage, I wouldn't believe you because the song came out a year prior in October.
Yeah.
So I was just like, what? Insane.
So what you mentioned that song means a lot to you. What about that song? Is it the lyrics? Because to be honest with you, I like even though I am an Adele fan to some songs, I actually didn't really I wasn't a big fan of that song. And so, but
Yeah.
when you sang it, I was like, whoa! And I'm listening to the words, and I'm trying to and so I just want to hear from you. Why does that song mean so much to you?
Um, I think mainly it being Adele, and I just love anything Adele. And but at the same time, I actually don't love all of her songs, but this one I do really love. I relate to it because she and I had gone through divorces, and in the song, she's kind of talking about, you know, her son and putting her son through a hard time because of the decision she's making to end this relationship for herself, and her feeling like a sense of guilt or maybe shame, and being like, go easy on me, like I'm still innocent, like I'm still a child, like I need to do this for me type of a thing. And because by any means, when you go through divorce, people are going to get hurt. People indirectly and directly are going to get hurt one way or another. And so it just was something I related to because I just remember like having hurt people along the way, and it sucks to hurt people, honestly. And but then at the same time, you kind of have to make decisions for yourself and your own life
Yeah.
that support you and your journey. And while it's and being a perfectionist myself, you don't want to be seen in a negative light with anyone. So it's kind of hard just to be in that place a little bit.
Wow. See, yeah, I never knew that that's where those lyrics stemmed from. I never knew that she had gone through a divorce and that song was to her son. So it has a lot of meaning behind it, obviously. And hearing you say it, that's why you chose it as well, because there was something that you could have connected to at the same time. So thank you again for sharing that.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. Your boyfriend and sister watched you performed. You did excellent. Seemed like chance turned for you right away, and it looked like Blake did so towards the end.
Yeah.
Both coaches gave you amazing pitches. Kelly kept lobbying for you to go to Team Chance.
Yeah.
And I think when the time came for you to make a decision, even your boyfriend said, "Oh, he's gonna go with Chance," but you didn't. You shocked the world. You didn't choose Chance. Why did you choose Team Blake?
Oh, when Blake talked about my voice and what made my voice special and unique, I was like, I'm gonna go with this guy. Chance did turn for me first, but I think I wasn't as, I guess, his pitch in the moment, because I actually, Niall was always my first pick, then Kelly, then Chance, then Blake last.
Oh,
So
no
I
way.
myself. Um, yeah, it was the fact that Chance was like, "Well, have you seen D'Angelo and like Maxwell and all these like R&B artists?" And I'm like, "That's just not me." And I literally thought in the moment, I'm like, if I go with Chance, he's gonna have me sing all these R&B songs that I just didn't necessarily like almost feel comfortable with putting myself into. Um, but I'm like, oh, if I go with Blake, he just liked my voice. Like he's just talking about my voice, and I'm like, it seems like he would let me sing what I wanted, even though Chance was more of a pick. And for whoever for me first, I would have more likely to pick them. But it was based off the vibe I got right there in the moment and what they were saying to me. And I just felt like with Blake, having been there a long time too, it was almost like picking this like more solid foundation with someone who had a lot of experience and whatnot. And it's his last season. So I think it was kind of mainly that for me. Just he loved my voice. He talked about that, which I wanted to hear, like what they thought was special about my voice and whatnot, rather than being like, we'll put you in this box. And
Right.
that's what it kind of felt like a little bit, what Chance was doing. So I was like afraid to pick him because I'm like, what if I sing all these songs I don't want to sing type of the thing. So that was my decision. Yeah, that's why I made it.
Yeah, yeah, it is a split game time decision, but you wouldn't have gone wrong either way. But I thank you for pulling back the curtain on that. The
Yeah.
coaches then poked some fun at each other, saying that Blake was gonna only have you singing Tim McGraw. I don't know if you ended up seeing that.
So it's funny because you think, because I've seen Blake before have pop artists and whatnot, and they sing their own songs,
Yep.
but like when Chance said that, because you don't hear all these things, you don't see all the like you only get the on stage, but it's cool to see like what they are actually saying while you're singing and afterwards. And
Yep.
I posted a little snippet of that of Chance, and then even like looking back at like all the things, I'm like, Chance is so endearing and like he's so funny. And I was just like, you don't get to see any of that when
Yeah.
you're in the moment type of the thing. And but like hindsight's 2020, and you look back at things and you could be like, oh, like what if I had gone this other route type of a thing.
Right.
But I'm really happy with the choices that I did make. And you know, um, I didn't realize honestly how much of a fan Chance was, but and how like heartbroken he was every like when I didn't pick him.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
makes me feel sad.
you wouldn't have gone wrong either way. Either way, but you're right. You ended up making. But yeah, it was kind of funny to like see their little bantering back and forth about it afterwards. Because even when I watched it, I was like, wow, they're really laying it on thick.
Yeah, which I'm like, I can sing any song. Honestly, I can sing to do so. Yeah.
Nice, nice. So we'll transition into the battle rounds now. You're preparing to sing tracks of My Tears, and you got to work with Blake Shelton, like one on one. Obviously, you had the other. I think her name was Tasha, the one that you were doing a duet with. But what was that moment like? Just getting insight and tips from a legend in the industry like Blake.
I remember going into the rehearsal and like being really nervous, but giving him a big hug. And because Blake's demeanor and personality is very like he doesn't um he's the type of person where he's just a little bit more down to earth and kind of just I don't know, maybe doesn't try to be super intimidating with his personality. Like he doesn't take himself too serious. And I really like that. And it made me feel less nervous going into that rehearsal. Like I think before we started singing, he's like just talking to us and he's like, who's gonna sing first? Like we both gotta sing the section separate. And then he would give us feedback and he made me go first. And he's like, EJ, like your voice is so shocking. Like it's just incredible how high you can sing. And then Tasha went and we sang together. And honestly, my favorite part was just first off that I had such a great partner to sing with that I was so comfortable with. We had such good chemistry singing wise, and we were just having so much fun to the point that I was able just to focus on my singing and not be like, there's a celebrity like right here in front of me and I'm like shaking and my voice is cracking and I'm all nervous and whatnot. And um, but yeah, he was really cool. He actually didn't really give me crazy amount of notes, which I take as a compliment because if he had like notes on notes of like this needs to improve, I think he was just like, yeah, just work out the ending. Like you guys kind of seem like you're figuring out what you're doing vocally, like at the very end. Um, and then like during the battle round, he's like, "See, that's what you get with one coaching session of Blake."
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm just like, rolling my eyes, just like, just like, yes. And there was also a lot of work going into it beforehand.
Right.
But it was honestly incredible to be able to sing in front of him and have him just literally kind of inspire us and be like, this could be a playoff pass performance type of a thing. And we were like, just fired up to give the best performance that we possibly could. And I definitely went into this performance feeling so much more just confident and comfortable and relaxed and just not nervous like I was for the blind audition.
Yeah. Yeah. And you performed and you rocked it. Chance, your biggest fan, called it an award show level performance. And despite the fact that I think Niall and Chance, I think they both lean more towards your direction, Blake didn't choose you. And then Chance and Niall, hit their steel buttons, and yet again, you you went against Chance and you went with Niall. Why did you end up making that selection? Why at that you're making all these decisions, they're split decisions, but why did you make that decision?
Honestly, it was super. I hated being put in that moment
Yeah.
again
And
because
Paul,
I
yeah.
knew because Niall was always my first pick, and I I knew like going back up, I was like, oh no. I like felt this sense of dread almost of like, "Ew, if I pick Niall, I'm going to be rejecting Chance twice. Like, and having him like turn for me first. And it was almost like I felt this pressure, honestly, to choose Chance because he turned for me first. And in a
Right.
sense, like looking back, it's like he really genuinely liked my voice, like the tone of it, and was a fan of everything I was doing. And I feel like in the heat of the moment, um, I I was kind of thinking like with Niall of just with like my album coming out, I'm like my style of music is so similar to Niall. I feel like it would be so cool to potentially collaborate with him in the future. And like I was kind of just thinking in a sense of like terms of style and type of songs, and I'm like, I feel like again he would have me sing these type of songs that kind of fit within my genre that are like very similar to him, and if I make it far I get to sing with them. And so I was kind of just being like a huge fan of Niall and having heard his music, where with like Chance I didn't really get to meet Chance like and sit down and know him. Like I knew his music like as far as his, I think all, what's it called, his big hit that's is it like All Night? Oh, No Problem. I think it's called No Problem. Listening to that song and loving it when it came out. But knowing more of Niall and having more kind of like a fan connection
Yep.
with Niall, if that makes sense,
Yes.
based on honestly genre. And I was literally thinking like I love Niall and how close after hearing like how he's been so interactive with his team. He like emails them, he Skypes with them. I'm
Oh,
like in
right.
my head, I'm like, this dude is doing this one time probably. And I'm like, the fact that he's just so,
Invested.
interactive with his team
Yeah.
and just being so close with everyone on his team, I was just kind of like, I gotta go with Niall because, like, as far as, but then I almost felt this like sense of like, oh, I know I'm going to be making this choice. It's probably going to upset a lot of people. So I kind of felt this sense of like, ugh, like I want to do this, but then I also feel bad. I'm like rejecting Chance twice and feeling that in a sense of like, no, like I don't want to do this again. Don't like put me in this situation. I hate rejecting people. It's really hard. But I had to kind of follow what, I really had to follow my gut.
Right.
And
Yep.
I feel like I've always in life, whenever I followed my gut, it has never led me astray.
Mm.
And it's always gotten me outcomes and to places in my career that I'm happy with. And so, yeah, I eventually had to follow my gut with it. And even though I feel like I would be upsetting a lot of people and just being like, type of a thing. And but I love Chance, and even afterwards, he's just like, I got one more chance to, choose EJ. It broke my heart. I'm like, no, Chance is so cool. And like he was like EJ, like when I step on stage, these things you don't hear.
Yeah.
Like, you're so in the moment, like it's so loud, like you're focused on just performing.
Yep.
Obviously you hear them like um after you're done performing and you're listening to them talk to you type of a thing. But like again, hindsight is 2020, and you make those decisions in the moment, in the heat of the moment, like you have like seconds to choose.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of pressure, honestly. And you're like on camera and you hear people screaming like Niall. I think there were like a ton of Niall fans in the crowd
Oh,
that
I
day too.
bet. Yeah.
Everyone was like screaming Niall's name. And so yeah, that's kind of like a little bit like behind why I went with Niall, mainly just feeling like I could stand out differently on his team, from what everyone who was on his team, and the type of singers. I feel like I was different from everyone else. And like, so I was kind of putting all of that into consideration in that choice, even though I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I'm like, I feel like I'm going to get hated for this.
Yeah. Again, you wouldn't have gone wrong. Even if you did choose Chance, you wouldn't have gone wrong because then you would have been able to work with another artist, another incredible artist.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
that was awesome. It was great TV. So I mean, and
Right? It made more drama, and
yeah,
people are like, "What? No! Like, how could he not go with Chance?" And then Chance is like, "I can steal him again," type
yeah,
of a thing, and
and
just
he's
being
so
so
cool,
cute.
laid back. Yeah, yeah,
He's so laid back like that. Where I'm like, "What a great guy!" Like
yeah,
he's not like all just like I hate EJ.
yeah. It takes it
You
personally, right? Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that. Can't wait to see the rest of your journey on the show. Let's want to do some rapid fire questions.
Yes, let's do it.
All right, awesome. All right, one piece of advice you'd give to someone who wants to be in your shoes.
I would say if you're serious about it, get ready for some up and downs, and you need some serious grit and fortitude to get to where I've been. It's not a blow up just that overnight type of thing. It's a journey. So if you want it, get ready for a journey.
Yeah, it's not a sprint; it's a marathon, and I think that that's a beautiful point because I always say I think with the era that we live in with social media, everyone thinks that every success is overnight, and because you can just post a photo and people are like, oh, look at them go. No, they had to work hard, they had to grit, they had to grind. So, yeah, thank you for that. I think that's great advice. What is your best icebreaker joke? So right now you have one joke. What is it? What's your best icebreaker joke?
Oh my gosh, this one's so cheesy. What did the lawyer name his daughter?
What?
Sue.
I like it. Did you hear the?
Oh my gosh, I can't. I love awkward, so that joke is so dumb that it's awkward, and it's just kind of like cringe. And
Did
I'm
you
like,
did you hear the little audio there? Did you hear that?
what?
Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't.
So
It's so cringy.
so funny story about that button. I've been doing podcasting for about a year. I've had this software thing, whatever, for about a year. I just found out that I had that. So I love now that I have this little like so that way if I ever say a cheesy joke or somebody else, but I love it. All right. So there you go. You're one of the first people I wanted to break it in with. So there you go. Thank you.
Yes, I love it.
Not music related. What is your favorite hobby?
Probably working out in yoga.
Nice, nice. You said you do Insanity. I is that like that's not like P90X, is it? Is it similar to that? Remember
It's
that?
more cardio based. I don't do that. I only did that because I was working at my hotel room off a YouTube video
Oh, okay, yeah,
without weights and whatnot. But no, I'm more like I love to weight lift at the gym, and I love biking, and I love yoga. Like
yeah,
those are kind of outside of music are hobbies I really look forward to and I make time for, and I just bring my soul so much joy.
I'm the same way. To me, working out is just a part of everything of my day, as eating,
Yeah.
working, whatever it is. Yeah, it really. And once you, because for me, it's therapeutic in a way of just being able to just go and work out and feel good about myself too. I love it. So right there with you, my friend. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes. Um,
Is there a
I do
is
eat
there a but?
pineapple on.
Okay, I wasn't sure if there was going to be a but that followed after that.
I'm like, yes. And I'm saying it kind of almost doubtingly because
Yes.
I like pizza. I don't love pizza, but I really like pizza and I'll eat it. I just haven't had pineapple pizza in a while, but I have eaten it and I love pineapple on like rice and chicken and on pizza. So I'm one of those that would say yes.
Oh my goodness, you like pineapple with rice and chicken? See, I feel like I might be the. So the other day I made myself a lunch and it was pineapple, chicken, and rice, and I
Yeah.
mixed it and I'm like, I wonder if people think I'm crazy, but I'm like, I love the saltiness of the chicken, I love the sweetness of the pineapple, and the
Yeah.
rice just ties it all in. It's like a little bowl. It's amazing.
Yeah. It ties it together and there's way more flavor. And it's
Yes.
rather than getting like a really sugary sauce, you dump barbecue sauce all over it. I feel like pineapple's a more like healthy, natural, organic
Yes.
substitute for some like sauce that you would make it taste more interesting. So yeah,
I'm the same. Okay, wow, I love it. I love it. What is your biggest pet peeve?
honestly, I can't stand um, rudeness. Honestly, I when people are mean and rude, like in whether like subtle or very direct ways, like I can't. It's hard for me to be around people that are rude. I know that's super like general as far as like rudeness type of a thing, but I just think empathy and kindness is important. Not being nice. There's a difference between kind and nice. Nice is like you let people walk all over you and whatnot. But being kind is like everyone deserves your kindness,
Yes.
but it doesn't mean you have to like everyone.
Hmm. I agree.
But everyone does deserve like respect type of a thing. But yeah, when people kind of break those boundaries for me, it really rubs me the wrong way. And it's hard for me to be like, I like this person.
And, and it's funny you say that because I don't view that as a like a cliche answer, because true story. So one time I was going to work for this company, okay, and I was hesitant on if I really wanted to work for them because I had like two offers at the time. And for some reason, I don't know why, but this particular one had things that I'm allergic to. Now, I'm genuinely allergic to latex, but I think I also put bitchiness and like rude people at the
Yeah.
same time. And
Yeah.
and they I and like I said, I didn't, they were kind of like the second, like they were pretty close in which one I wanted to go with. But when they called me back and they said, I loved your answer, I was like, okay, that's the company I got to work for. Boom. The fact that they
Yes.
found humor in that and that they agreed with it, cuz they were like, we do not like rude people. We do not like mean people here. So, um
I love that.
couldn't agree with you more. All right, next one. What conspiracy theory do you kind of believe in?
Okay. Uh, I think it's the what's it called? It's the effect. It's the not the Lazarus effect. What's it called? Where you see
Oh,
something
the
one
Mandela.
way. The Mandela effect.
Yes.
Yes, the Mandela effect. It's that whole like for me, J.C. Penney, I thought was spelled a certain way. I didn't know it was like EY as opposed to just NNY. It was NNEY, J.C. Penney. And I always thought J.C. Penney was just spelled JCPENNY rather than PENNEY. That's one of those things that I'm like, what? Like, did that change, or was that always the way it was written?
Yeah.
type of where there's these other like scenarios or things where you're like, holy crap, my whole life I grew up thinking it was this, but it's actually this. And I'm
Right.
like, there's parts of me kind of believing that, the Mandela effect of like we're in different universes and it like changes and like without us knowing type of a thing. And I don't know. So that's one of the things I can remember that I'm like, huh.
Well, it's kind of like I know what you mean because for me it's kind of like the fruit of the loom. I always thought that was a cornucopia, and the thing is, I remember
It's not
buying.
a
No, there's not, and okay, see, and that's what I mean. Exactly my point.
what is it? Is it just fruit?
It's just the fruit apparently, and I'm sitting here going, I can pretty much remember when I was like 10 or 11 or 12, and like my parents bought me the underwear and seeing the cornucopia on that, and then what's crazy
Yeah.
is then I stopped buying it for a few years, and now all of a sudden there's no cornucopia on it, and I'm like, okay, so I thought they must have rebranded it, but then I saw online that they
Yeah.
said no, there was never a cornucopia, and I was like, I don't believe that. I did, and
That's so,
similar with Looney Tunes. Apparently there was like the spelling of that. I always thought it was like Toons to like match the Looney, and that's apparently not. It's literally just Looney Tunes Tunes, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Are they?
oh my gosh. Yeah. I think that's how it was supposed to be as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's almost like a really, and I know this is a very strong term. It's almost like a really bad form of gaslighting in a way of being like, oh hey, like that's not no that was never spelt that way or that was never seen as that way.
Yeah, where it's just like, no, I think this is how it is to like in reality, but it's just like, no, you're wrong
Yeah.
type of a thing. Like your experience is wrong or
Right.
invalid.
And it's insane because even like you said the J.C. Penney, I'm over here going, wait, whoa, I forgot about that. Like that's another thing, and I'm like, are you kidding me? That's so it's just wow. I can see why you believe in that. Yep, I do. I do.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane.
Where can listeners find you so that way they can see the music that you're gonna put out and follow you on social media? Where can people find EJ?
Honestly, if you go on my website, ejmichelsmusic.com, you can subscribe to my email list there and you can find all my social media on there and TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. It's kind of like a landing page for my music videos, all my new music, and photos and contact, and even like my show schedule of all the shows that I'm doing as well. So that is probably the best way to find everything. But then I spend a lot of time mainly on Instagram first and then TikTok. So
Yeah.
you'll kind of on those two at EJ Michels Music on Instagram and at EJ Michels on TikTok. So
Do you ever do any of the dances on TikTok?
no.
No.
I would love to. I've always wanted to learn a dance, but I'm actually wanting to get into dancing more. I have a friend I was texting this morning. I'm like, do you want to do a hip hop class in downtown Salt Lake? Like, let's go sign up and go do it. And so if I learn and I get better, I will do it.
Nice, nice. If that's the case, we need to duet at some point, like where they can have like the two. I'm not
Yes.
I'm not into that dancing. I try, and the thing is, when you work with like kids, like sometimes they're like, oh, look at you did this, and they say these moves, and I'm like, I have no idea what those moves are. I just did it because I saw some other person do it, and I thought that that's what the trend was. I didn't know that it was a certain
Yeah.
move. But
I've
yeah.
always tried to get my band to do it, and they're like cringing, just like, no, we're not doing that. But I'm more inclined to do something like that for sure.
See, that's one of the reasons I like TikTok is just because it's not just you. There's literally thousands of other adults the same age, younger and older, doing the exact same thing. So nobody's ever really going to be like poking fun at you or mocking you because you're doing it as long with them. So that's why
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I like it. But Awesome. So that's the best place where people can find you. Michaels is with an ELS, not AELS. A lot of that can be.
ELS.
Yes, yes. I help you out there. Well, EJ, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to sit, chop it up with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It's been such a pleasure. This has been like my most in-depth interview so far. I've really appreciated that. So now, hopefully, when people get a watch and want to know a little bit more of the backstory, they can hear almost all of it in this one. So
Perfect. Yeah, I pride myself on that. Like I pride myself on having like a disarming, authentic conversation, and it's not just, "Hey, tell me why you were on TV for a month or two." Like, no, I really want to learn the people because I'm all about having fun, making friends, learning,
yeah,
and having just positive bonds. So, you're now a friend of the show. It's a big deal. Okay, it's kind of like being in the Avengers. They're a group of superheroes. So you are now a friend of the show. EJ, you're a new member.
thank
So
you, Nathanael. I
welcome.
appreciate it.
uh, you have a fan for life in me. That is going to wrap it up for this episode of the Reyes Reflection Podcast. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at I'm Nathanael Reyes. You'll see us do a duet pretty soon. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like wherever you get your podcasts. And you know the deal. May you live, may you love, and may you thrive. I'm Oprah, and I love you all.